All right. Good morning once again, everybody. Thank you again for dialing into our well-informed, frugal but fun, making the most of your money. All lines will be muted for the remainder of the presentation. We will have a question and answer portion of the presentation at the end where we encourage you to type out your questions for the presenter in the chat. Welcome everyone once again, and thank you for being here. Today's webinar is all about embracing a frugal lifestyle, not as a limitation, but as a powerful way to gain control, reduce stress, and build long-term financial freedom. With the help of Melissa Stone, we will explore simple, practical strategies to help you spend smarter, save more, and focus on what truly matters. Whether you're looking to cut expenses, pay off debt, or just live more intentionally, today we're going to be giving you the tools and the mindset to make it happen. Melissa Stone is a graduate of Indiana University, go Hoosiers, and the University of Southern Indiana. She is a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Indiana. Melissa was the first police social worker for Bloomington, Indiana Police Department, and now supervises 3 additional full-time clinicians and 2 part-time outreach people. She also maintains a private practice where she provides services to trauma survivors, military members and their families, and first responders and their families. Melissa is passionate about community change and advocacy efforts as well. In her spare time, Melissa loves spending time with her dog Millie and traveling the world with her twin to attend Formula One races. And with that, Melissa, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to turn on my video for just a minute so you all know I'm a real person over here in Bloomington, Indiana, but I am going to turn it off for the rest of it just because bandwidth and all that good stuff. So thanks for being here today for sure. I'm excited to talk about this topic. It'll be even greater if as we go through, you're interactive and you have thoughts or you've tried something before and want to let everybody else know about that. We have a good list of things here and examples and whatnot, but I'm in Bloomington, Indiana, and you are where you are. So the more the merrier if you have tips and tricks for your area too. So we'll get through that today. Again, you can ask questions anytime throughout. There'll be time for questions at the end as well, but you're not going to bother me or throw me off by entering questions in the chat or adding comments as we go. Okay. So some of the goals of our seminar, of course, understand the benefits of a frugal lifestyle and what can get in the way of that, review some budget boundaries, explore money saving strategies, discuss ideas for low to no cost activities, and of course, review the benefits of your EAP program. First and foremost, too, this is not just a budgeting class. We're going to talk more about just fun ways to do this. We're not going to sit here and talk about budgeting only. It's not about guilt or restriction or not having anything fun ever. We're not going to talk like that either. That's not helpful, right? But it's all about aligning your choices with things that actually matter to you. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And that's kind of the angle that we're going to come from today. So when we say frugal living, what do we even mean by that? So frugal living is about making intentional choices to get meaningful value at a low cost, not overspending to get what we want. It's not about cutting out every non-essential or never buying a latte again. But it's about putting your time, attention, and money towards the things that genuinely matter to you. And when we do that, it kind of puts you in control, and everybody loves to have some control of their lives, right? This is just normal human behavior. We like to have some control of our lives. When you're living with intention, you're less affected by advertising or pressure or peer pressure even, or feeling that spending is just something that happens, like you can't control it, but you can. So it's a good feeling to feel like you have more control of that. It keeps your options open. So being mindful with everyday spending makes it easier to say yes to the things that you want to say yes to that truly matter to you, or even splurge on something fun without any stress or guilt. So whenever you're having to go to make a decision, you don't have to worry like, oh, do I have the money for this? Do I not have the money? Should I be spending it? Should I not? If you have an idea of this already, then it helps you with that decision making. And it just feels good. A sense of satisfaction, confidence um, or some of the emotional perks, I guess we can say. It feels kind of fun too when you get something for cheap, or when you get something, when you are able to like really get a good deal on something, or when you get to create something instead that somebody really likes. All these things we'll talk about as we go, but it feels really good sometimes. Fewer just negative feelings overall about, no stress about being in major debt. That's always a good thing. No burden of clutter. We're not, if we live frugally, we're not just buying to buy and then we don't have houses full of stuff. Like that tends to happen, right? Um, we don't, we won't have as much of that if we're intentional about what we're buying. If you have kids or you have kids in your lives that are important to you, if frugal living as a norm can shape their attitudes about spending to support a balanced relationship with money for their future. Remember that kids are always watching us, right? So if we're showing kids how to do this, and they're going to grow up with kind of a good mindset too about money and spending and things like that. And it often involves healthier behaviors and choices, so that's a win-win. Along with being lower cost, frugal choices are often good for you, such as cooking at home versus eating at a restaurant. Not that you can't eat well at a restaurant, but we know what happens sometimes when we go to restaurants. Or choosing low cost outdoor activities. So, getting some outdoor activity, physical activity in. And being frugal tends to support more environmentally healthy choices as well. So, all fantastic benefits of frugal living. So, if we wanted to be and do frugal living, we want to be frugal, but fun, of course. And sometimes maybe you've tried it already. Maybe you're like, oh, yeah, I created a budget, I tried to stick to it, I failed eventually. I really wish I could get into like the right mindset about this, because it's not just behavior. It truly is the way we're thinking about money and how we think about spending it, and why that's important to us. So it's kind of some underlining beliefs that we have. And those beliefs come from all kinds of places. We'll talk about that. But before we go into tools and tactics and ideas, let's challenge some of the main mindsets that keep us stuck in kind of this space of spending. And if it sounds like you, it's okay. This will sometimes also sound like me and everybody else in here, right? We're not perfect. Things happen. And there's reasons, all kinds of reasons for that. So don't be too hard on yourself here. So, a spending mindset, there's often a kind of an underlying belief about instant gratification. I need to feel good right now. We might not even be thinking it like consciously, it might just be subconsciously. I need to have this coffee every morning because it X, Y, and Z. It makes my day go better. You've put some kind of meaning to the coffee. Whether or not the caffeine is the only thing, there's probably some kind of other thing happening. Even just that it's part of a routine, but you're still hitting that instant gratification. And we're humans. We like things to be instantly gratifying. We don't like to have to wait for things, right? The frugal mindset of that is being very intentional, choosing to buy what matters to you. More about when and why. Even a simple 24-hour pause before you buy something might be helpful. Or asking, will I be happy that I bought this a month from now, a week from now, whatever that looks like, a year from now? Really just taking one step to separate from that instant gratification feeling. External validation is also part of the spending mindset often. So I need to look like I'm doing well. And there's a lot of reasons for this type of um, belief system too, right? And this can come from way back even in our families and how we grew up, and just the expectations that are put on us. What some people, will chase the likes, the compliments, the feeling of keeping up with all the trends can feel really good. People verbalize this to each other. And it's not even intentionally to like reinforce this, but we reinforce things a lot with other people just by, talking about somebody's outfit or somebody's car or somebody's house or whatever that is, to be nice. But we're kind of reinforcing this external validation that a lot of people have. And all of us have it at some point, but that can lead to spending a little bit more. So instead of seeking that external validation, like having the most Christmas lights and whatnot in the neighborhood, we want to look at internal fulfillment. So I want to spend in alignment with my values. What's actually important to me? Yeah, I love Christmas lights. I actually really do love Christmas lights, but I am not going to go spend a ton of money on Christmas lights to have like the coolest house in the neighborhood. I wish I could, but I just don't want to. That's not actually what I just like a few cute things, right? So what are my values here? Avoidance is another spending mindset. So I'll worry about the cost later. Putting blinders on, kind of, when it comes to your bottom line, ultimately breeds more stress, though, right? If we're not keeping track of what we're spending and we don't want to open our bank accounts to check how much we're spending, that's straight up avoidance, and that honestly just causes stress, right? Outside of the obvious of if that number doesn't look good, and that is an additional stress, just the avoidance actually causes us stress. Back to awareness instead of avoidance. So I check my spending, I keep up with my spending so I can move forward with confidence and not fear. So those are what we're trying to look at on the right hand side there, the frugal mindset. But it's always good to know yourself and kind of know where the spending comes from. As my day job at the police department, I work with a lot of elderly ladies, and sadly, they will get into the space of just buying, buying, buying because it feels kind of like like they're lonely, and they fill that loneliness with buying stuff. And that's all stuff that your EAP and stuff can help with, that we'll talk about a little bit towards the end. But just know what those triggers are for you, and then try to put the right things in place, to not let those kind of take over for you. Again, no shame in this. Yeah, that's true, Trina. There's also the cognitive change component of decreased impulse control. Definitely does happen for sure. So, small mindset shifts can set you up to embrace the fun of frugal living. Um, I forgot to mention it at the very beginning here, but we do, or there are handouts. If you don't have them yet, we'll make sure you get them. But there's a handout and it's called Money Saving Tips. And it'll go through all kinds of tips there too that we'll kind of talk about in this presentation, but that you'll have to take with you, which is going to be really great. So, what makes frugal fun? All kinds of things. One, we can turn it into kind of a game. The challenge is to win by getting the most while spending the least. And in the game, the money's real. So that's great. Whether you're buying necessities or making a special purchase or just looking for something to do on Friday night, being thoughtful about what you choose gets you what you need, but for less. So we can just make it a game. Um, hey, let's go to the thrift store and see. We both need an outfit for this event we're going to. Let's see who can spend the least here, but still get a really cool outfit out of it. Take Taking up the frugal challenge can spark creativity and experimentation. So maybe you want to repurpose something. I've seen some really cool like chairs and tables and whatnot get repurposed, and people will paint them or draw on them or do all kinds of things with them. If and it can just spark some of that creativity. Maybe you didn't even know you had, before. So I always think that's great. Exploring new low cost activities, just trying something new, which is great. Frugal living can make everyday decisions more engaging and enjoyable. It just kind of makes our brains think a little bit differently, because it's kind of the easier, quote unquote, easier way out to just go buy something. But if we take a little bit of a challenge here to make it frugal, then it keeps our brains going, which is great. So, frugality often leads to pleasant surprises, of course, creating a sense of discovery that adds fun and new things. So, we'll have, again, all those money saving tips on that worksheet. While this is not a whole presentation about budget, we can't not talk about it a little bit, right? So we do want to at least talk about that a little bit. Um, Having a basic idea of what's going in and out of your bank account is super important, right? So then we can keep kind of bumpers on, kind of like in bowling. So they call it budget bumpers on this. Um, but what are some ways that you can tighten up your relationship with money? Because money, we all kind of have like our thoughts and feelings about it. And honestly, um, if you are in a relationship, your partner might also have their relationship with money, and it might look different than yours. And money's kind of always been taught as like a taboo thing to talk about as well. So sometimes it's hard to like get through, have these types of conversations, but they're super important. So, first of all, think about what it took to earn it. Um, I I have some private practice friends that we hang out together sometimes, and whenever they go to buy something, they'll be like, "Oh, how many client sessions is that? Like, is that a 2 client session thing or is it a 3 client session thing?" Not to where it gets super obsessive, or anything like that, but it's kind of how they view it. If do I need to buy this thing? Like, how many clients do I have to see to make this thing work? Um, all the hours and effort you put into making that money. It's kind of like working is not always fun, right? So how do we best spend the money that we have here? Um, Relying too heavily on credit creates a disconnect. So using credit cards blocks the emotional experience of handing over your hard-earned cash. I'm not saying you shouldn't have credit cards. There's Your financial situation is your financial situation. But I do know some people really do like having cash so they can kind of literally see what's going in and what's going out. So that might be a way to try some of that. And maybe it's not for everything, but maybe you have every month you have just fun spending money, and that is all cash. Once that cash is gone for the month, then that's it. There's different ways to do that, but some people really like to see it physically. One study actually found that card users spend up to 100% more than shoppers who pay cash because there's not that emotional response for just swiping a card. Or these days, you hardly even need a card, right? I can pay for everything with my watch, which is obnoxious. They just make it easier and easier to pay for stuff. So just be mindful of how we're paying. That could be a way to tighten that up a little bit. Third, master some budget basics. There's so many different ways to manage your finances. So there's apps, there's Excel, there's all kinds of formats out there. Find one that works for you. Um, by just looking at your real numbers, though, not just guessing that this might fit into your budget, you're going to save so much stress and anxiety down the road. Another one of the handouts that you'll receive is actually a household budget item list. Again, this might, or worksheet really. Again, it might not be what you really, it might not work for you the best, but it might get you thinking about it and maybe help you set up one that looks more like something you can work with. So, anyways, you'll have that if you want it. Of course, you don't have to utilize it. Beware of frugal frenzy. So, as you start kind of trying this out, being more frugal and saving money, it could be easy to get kind of like semi addicted to it, right? We don't want to go overboard and a mad dash just for bargains, because actually sometimes those aren't as good as they seem. So remember that even if it was a really good deal, if you didn't actually need the thing in the first place, then we're not really following the frugality rules that we're trying to set, right? You didn't really save much if you didn't need it in the first place. Um, don't don't necessarily just buy something at like the low cost version of something when spending more could have been a wiser choice. Sometimes it's worth spending the money for, so don't always just go the low cost route. Um, I think about we just had to buy a new washer and dryer, and those are so expensive. But if we want them to last a while, we're going to put some money into those things, right? So think about that too. Don't just go low cost just to go low cost. Be sure to periodically look up from the bottom line, confirm that your choices are really meeting your needs, that we're not just doing it to do it. So just be mindful of all of that too. I even think a little bit about people who are like, oh, I saved like 5 cents a gallon on gas, but I drove like 2 cities away to do it. It's like, well, okay, did we actually save? Let's think about that long term here. So think about all those things when you're setting budgets and deciding if that thing is worth being frugal about. So let's talk a little bit about money saving strategies here. Plan ahead. Planning ahead is always going to help us, right? With how we can save money, how we spend money. If we know what we're looking for going in, if we know the budget going in, we have less opportunity for things to like go awry because we already know the plan. And following through is another important part of this as well. So, first things first, do your research. You want to look at all facets of a product or a service before buying. Sorry. Um, so you know you get exactly what you need. You don't get a bunch of extra stuff. You're not missing something that's important to you. Just you're not giving up everything just to have a lower cost. Think through all of those things there. Get up to speed and comparison shop. There's so many websites out there that you can use to comparison shop. Um, Friends, of course, some salespeople, be mindful of that, of course, the Better Business Bureau, all kinds of websites out there that you can look at to compare things. I don't know if anybody out in the group has some really cool websites or ways that you compare prices of things, but that would be awesome to hear if you do. Um, I will say though, doing your research, very important, but we can take this too far sometimes. If every decision you're trying to make turns into this whole like it takes me 6 months to review all these things before I make a purchase, there might be a little bit more anxiety there that needs to be worked on. So also just be mindful of that. I only say this because I speak it. My partner, oh my gosh, he will just seriously spend months on a decision, and I'm like, oh my, is that worth it? So be mindful of that too. Keep an eye on the calendar. There are often like annual sales or biannual sales, discount days at places, preview days, special offers. So just kind of look around at your favorite places and kind of keep track of what those things are. Remember that shopping off season can save a bundle too. Like after Christmas, if you that's a great time to buy a Christmas tree if you want one. Or a lot of people go and buy candy after Easter, and then fill their candy jars at work because those things are cheaper then. So that's great. Do that. A lot of the end of season clearance and post holiday stuff, I mean, that can save 80% sometimes of prices. So think about that. Choose timeless styles, which is I'm such that person. When I pick something to wear, I better be able to wear it in like so many different scenarios. I don't buy something for like a one time wear. I'm just not that person. Um, if you do have kids, be sure to size up when buying every once in a while for growing kids, because we know how quickly they get out of those clothes and how quickly we're going to need bigger clothes, right? Third, coupon clipping. It's digital world really these days though, right? I mean, there are still some out there I think that you can clip, but most of the time you're going to find these on apps or something like that. Um, Before I go to Kroger, I can go to the Kroger app and just download the ones that I know I are the items I'm going to buy. So that's really cool. And that's just quote unquote free money there, right? They have it there for us. So try to work on that with whatever your favorite stores are. Fuel apps also actually out there. Those are also really good. So if you're able to like use your Kroger card, then you get money off gas if you use their gas pumps, right? And Sam's Club is like that. So if you have stores that you really like to frequent, make sure you're getting their cards and looking through all of those specials that they have. Groupon, Rakuten, Honey, all kinds of apps out there that you can look for that. And then remember rebates. So advertisers can be really savvy and smooth when it comes to enticing you with a low after rebate price. They're like, oh, after this here rebate, you'll actually save $100 on your washer. But if you neglect to follow through by mailing in the necessary information to get that rebate, then the deal was no good in the first place, right? So commit to following through as soon as possible. As soon as we put that off, we tend to forget about it. And it is kind of a pain, to be fair. They don't make it easy intentionally. So be honest with yourself. If you know you're not going to be good at sending that off, either don't utilize it or um, make sure you're strict with yourself about getting that done as soon as possible. And then don't waste a warranty before purchasing the extended warranty that we hear about all the time. Make sure you review the manufacturer's warranty and assess the costs of the additional coverage. They're not always a good value. Uh, it it might be that a majority of things can be fixed with YouTube videos. We can do it on our own. Um, or actually the manufacturer or this warranty actually only covers this one thing. Okay, well, we'll just take the risk on that sometimes, right? But make sure you always keep the receipts and documentation, especially for larger purchases, and follow through if you do experience problems. So they all sound good, but just make sure that that's right for you. It's new to you. So this is a really fun way to save some money here. So make secondhand your first stop. When you buy, sometimes you have to buy new, of course, like that's just gonna happen. But before you do that, otherwise, just think about buying secondhand at thrift stores, garage sales, flea markets, consignment shops. It's actually kind of cool now. I have interns and I see a lot of college kids because we're in a college town, and it's like the thing to do now is go thrifting. That's where people get all of their stuff. I'll be like, "Oh, that's a cute shirt. Great! I got it for $3 at Goodwill, or I got it for $3 at this random thrift shop." I'm like, "Oh, wow, amazing!" And that helps the environment too, right? That we're not creating a bunch of other clothes, and we know how we go through clothes too, and we just donate it. That's good, and then you can go and go get donated things for yourself, and then those things keep going around, which is also really great. Um, Online resale, I mean, Facebook Marketplace, buy nothing groups. Sometimes you can see where things are free everywhere. It can be really fun. It can be a little overwhelming to go to like thrift shops if you're looking for a certain thing. But if you have some intention, you have some time, it can be really fun too. But then of course you can use those opportunities to sometimes make money by offloading your gently used items to thrift stores too. So look at that as a way to make money. Borrow, lend, and hand me downs are the classic frugal moves that never go out of style. So if you have like minded friends, think about having a swap party to exchange clothes or other items you might not need anymore. We do this actually. I'm kind of a plant nerd, and my friends and I will do this with plants too because you kind of can accumulate plants. If anybody knows, then they all sprout and have all these, we have to get rid of parts of them somehow. So then we all get together and we're like, okay, who needs this plant? Does anybody need this type of plant? I know I got to get rid of some of this stuff so we can swap that. I see that a lot too with kids. Communities do this a lot with kids' clothing and stuff like that. They'll have a whole day dedicated to bring in all the stuff you don't want anymore, swap it out with other people. Rotate what you have. So sometimes tucking items away and bringing them back out will kind of feel new again, even if it's not new. Um, I really like this idea for home decor because I change mine in my like living room seasonally, but I don't really buy anything new. It's every spring it looks pretty much the same. Every winter it looks pretty much the same. But at the end of the day, most of the time, nobody's gonna really remember or notice that it was the same as your spring from last year. So I just rotate those out all the time. Every once in a while, I'll freshen it up, but then those will last for years before I buy something new. A lot of people do this with kids' toys too, because kids, they'll get something for a holiday or their birthday, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is great" for like 4 days, and then they're done with it. If you have space to kind of tuck it away and bring it back out later, great, because then they'll love it again for another 4 days until it's time to get rid of it. And then consider sharing items with others rather than buying something and maintaining it all for yourself. So for example, neighbors could share a snowblower. Maybe you and your neighbors get together, go 50-50 on this snowblower that you only need a couple, well, this year we used it a lot, sadly. Um, but most you don't need it all year long, right? So maybe there's a way to do that. Um, Pool resources. If you I've seen some really cool block parties in our neighborhood at times, and people just come together um, for like graduations and stuff like that, and just kind of share some of those costs because they do it all together, which I think is super cute too. It's communal, but it's also money saving. So if you've ever tried that though, kind of sharing costs like that with somebody, and I'm not talking about like using somebody's like Netflix password all the time, right? Where sometimes that gets a little out of hand. But if you've done something really cool about like sharing an item or sharing um, kind of the burden with other people, I think I would love to hear about that as well. And other people could really enjoy that as well. So drop that in the chat as well. Think outside the box, become a mystery shopper. So sometimes you can go to dinner, stay in hotels, etc., for free, except for just the time it takes for you to report on your experience. There's Mystery Shopping Professionals Association. So that's still a way to try out some things that you might like. Try bartering, so exchanging goods, skills, and services instead of money. Can you exchange a tutoring session for pet sitting, or can you teach a little sourdough basics to somebody for X, Y, and Z? How can you barter? Consider a co-op. It's a formal way of describing groups of individuals with similar goals who all pitch in some way. Housing, food, gardening, babysitting co-ops. Those are all ways that people get together and share that responsibility with each other. So then it feels like less of a burden and definitely less of a burden financially. volunteer for perks. Lots of festivals, events, institutions, they offer free admission or behind the scenes access for short volunteer shifts. So if you have the time to volunteer, but that means you get into the event for free, that's awesome, right? So think about doing that if you can. And usually it doesn't even have to be a long time. Um, Ask for a better price. I mean, can be a hard thing to do. I won't even say that I'm good at this all the time. But sometimes prices are negotiable, right? Definitely with vehicles and things like that, things are negotiable. So try it out if you feel like that could be a way to go there. Can you do any better on that price? Is that your best price? All those types of things. Also, ask about discounts. There can be a lot of discounts out there for paying these days, especially like paying cash. People, you save money that way. Senior student discounts, teacher discounts, first responder discounts, you name it. Just get in the habit of checking that. A lot of HRs too, like businesses and companies, they'll have some perks with random things as well. Like we have one with ours that's like AT&T cell phone service, so you can get a cheaper discount for that if when you work for the city. So just check all those things out. Do it yourself. That can go one of two ways sometimes, but it's kind of fun to try. So just try. It doesn't have to be a big project or anything, but it can be really fun. Again, YouTube has a lot of videos that can walk you through stuff, and you can find manuals for just about anything online too. If you're needing to fix something, you can find the manual and see what's the best way to try to fix this. So look at that first. Can you fix it? Making your own, the internet, Pinterest, Etsy, all the things, full of inspiring ideas for making crafts, designing greeting cards, making your own cleaning supplies, all kinds of things out there. You can find some tips and tricks. Lots of people are doing it. They blog about it. They make Instagram posts about it. Try it out and see if that works well for you. You don't have to recreate the wheel sometimes. If you want to try a household cleaner, Google that first and see what you can find. Another one of the handouts that you'll get is a make your own handout. Um, it has some cleaning on there because that's a big one people ask about. Um, Bath scrubs. A lot of people you can do that with sugar and things like that. Play-Doh, all kinds of stuff on the make your own list that you're gonna get. The give of your time. That is a great way to give without having to spend money. It's a meaningful way to connect, whether it's doing chores for your elderly neighbor or special outings with somebody you care about, but it doesn't have to be full of money. Like time is really important to a lot of people, just time. It doesn't have to be always out doing something. Okay. Entertainment options. So here are the next few slides. We're going to talk about some specific ideas. And again, if you all have ideas as we go along, I would love to hear them. I think everybody else would too. So learn the resources for low cost tickets in your area. I know that our little stage company here in Bloomington, when you're under 30, which I am no longer, but when I could get discounted tickets to go to the plays. My sister lives in New York City right now. If you go like day of to get tickets for this play, certain plays you can get them discounted because they just want people in the seats, right? So I don't know what that looks like in your area, but think through that. Follow local event venues on social media because sometimes they'll have early last minute ticket deals. And honestly, radio stations still do giveaways. So think about that if you listen to the radio. You can enter them by phone and online these days, but also look at the difference in prices of buying online versus buying in person somewhere, because sometimes you get those online fees by buying online. Sometimes you have to, but if you don't have to, then that might be something worth considering as well. Keep track of discount or get in free days, especially at museums and zoos and amusement parks. If you go regularly, consider season passes. Again, in New York City, my sister's a zoo member. She has a membership to the zoos there. And because of that, she gets a free admission for somebody else every time. So every time I go to New York to visit her, I get to go for free, because she has a membership, because she goes a lot because she just loves zoos. So think through all of that too. It might be a little bit expensive at the front end, but it might pay off in the long run. Your local movie theater, if you still have one, might also offer discount tickets. Like if you go on Tuesday nights or if you go the Sunday matinee, right? That's another quick tip for shows on Broadway and stuff. When we go, we definitely do like the Sunday afternoons versus like Friday and Saturday nights. Explore free neighborhood events like festivals, parade, music in the park. We have lots of festivals in Bloomington. You don't even have to buy anything when you get there. Just walking through it and seeing stuff and being around people is really fun. Our Parks and Rec does a great job as well with just all kinds of fun, like free music in the park and stuff. So keep an eye on community calendars and social media pages. Community education classes. Sometimes you can go to a cooking class or a woodworking class, especially if you have a university close by. They often offer like adult, like one-off classes, and they're pretty inexpensive. And your libraries, please still utilize your libraries. I know it's easy to use Libby and all this stuff now, to get books and whatnot, but libraries are still vital in offering activities. Would love to hear more from anybody else about entertainment options. Go out and about. So learn what your park systems have to offer. Um, you can get a state park pass in Indiana for pretty cheap, and you only have to go like 5 times to get that money back for it for a whole year. I mean, that's pretty easy to do around here. You might have some nature centers, rivers, lakes, and beaches, just hiking in general, taking walks around free, but also so full of life that way. Try your hand at gardening. Gardening is so fun because of like it just takes a few seeds and then you get to watch it grow, and you can make little bouquets if you do flowers, or you can make your own food that way even. And some food is really easy to grow. So look at that. It's kind of fun. You can also just hang out in your neighborhood. Is there a basketball goal somewhere that the kids can go to that everybody can share, or whatever that looks like? On the road. So, as you heard in my bio, I love to travel. My sister and I love to travel. So there are different ways to do that, of course, but sometimes instead of choosing where to go, you can kind of start with like, or when you choose, you can also start with like what's more expensive or what's cheaper right now. Maybe it's cheaper right now to not go to Italy in the summer. Maybe you should go in the winter or whatever. Like look through all of that stuff before you make a purchase like that, because there's some really good stuff out there. You can also set alerts on things like Google Flights, and it'll alert you when the price goes down on a flight you want. And sometimes waiting to the last minute, which isn't always great. I get that, but sometimes those flights can go way down too. All kinds of online websites as well to look at for those types of alerts when it comes to traveling. Traveling in the off season, we talked about that a little bit. Whether in the States or cross country, whatever that looks like, hotels, rental vehicles, activities, food might be all more affordable outside of an area's peak tourist season. Um, we went to Italy in September last year and later September, and some of the wineries were just so very empty, and they're like, oh yeah, it's kind of like the end of the season in here. So that was really nice, because it was towards the end of the season. It was kind of it was less busy out there, but also um, they're willing to even be nicer to you because it's about the end of their season. Spend on experiences, not logistics. So if you want to splurge on local cuisine when you're traveling, choose maybe more modest lodging, maybe a hostel instead of a hotel. Um, Maybe you want to go on a really cool like excursion and you want to stay in a more walkable neighborhood to save on transportation costs there. Also, a lot of places, bigger cities and definitely overseas, like they have public transit. So consider things like using the bus systems and subways and stuff like that. I'm from fairly rural Indiana. A lot of people would never in their minds think about getting on a train or something like that. But man, it saves so much money. Um, Maybe seek an adventure closer to home. So maybe you don't have to fly anywhere. Or as in the Midwest, we all love to drive hours and hours and hours, right? Um, but maybe you even just pitch a tent in your own backyard. I used to love that as a kid. Maybe there's a cute bed and breakfast close by. So just be creative with those options here and think about how can we make this more fun and more. Oops, somebody said, yeah, community colleges and local school performances are cost effective and support the community. I agree with that. I love those too. I love a good high school football game still. I don't even know any kids well, I guess I know a couple because of my private practice, but really, I don't really know anybody. But sometimes it's just kind of fun for the vibe, right? Um, or maybe I'm just a nerd. I just love sports, but I love it. Food is going to be a big one too. We have to eat, but we also know that eating is cultural. And a lot of times people want to go out to eat, and this is how we catch up with each other, right? But think through some options here, like stocking up and buying in bulk, maybe even freezing some stuff. It's in season now. Get it, cut it up, put it in the freezer so it's ready for later. Split a bulk order with your family or friends. Check out CSAs, which are community supported agriculture. Um, a lot of times they offer monthly or weekly, like kind of subscription boxes that will have seasonal fruits and vegetables. And sometimes you can even get some with meat, like chicken and stuff like that. So a lot of times around here in Indiana, people will share like they'll buy half a cow and then split it with their families and freeze it because obviously it takes some time to eat half a cow. There are some apps out there that can help you get some discounts on meals and groceries. Flash food, too good to go. Again, your local grocery store, look at those. Take a pantry challenge. So, can you get creative about the stuff you already have? There are websites like Supercook and From Your Fridge where you can kind of enter your what you have and it can help you create a menu item or a dinner item, but maybe you can get really creative with that. Maybe every Tuesday it's going to be like pantry night. It's like, okay, we're going to cook up our odds and ends here. Know your local specials. So there are happy hour deals, of course, out there, daily specials online. Keep track of your favorite places and see what their specials are because they do them, especially on like Mondays and Tuesdays and stuff when they're really slow. And go for potluck parties. Um, people Sometimes people are like, oh, but if I'm inviting people over, I just want to buy everything like host, whatever. But a lot of people like to bring stuff to parties because they like to show off their cooking skills and stuff like that. So don't feel bad about that. Share with each other. People understand trying to save money on things. So don't ever feel guilty about that. Stay on track. So again, don't go into that frugal frenzy where it isn't quite working for you. So maybe maybe you're better at certain parts of this and you're not good at other parts of it. That's fine. Know yourself, find what works out. I know sometimes I hear the conversation about like cloth diapers, and some people are like, that is just not worth it to me. I know it could save money. I just can't. It's like, great. Know yourself, do what you need to do with that. Um, Keep it fresh and fun, get a good start, but you don't have to stay in that same pattern. Try new things all the time. That makes life interesting in general, right? And then enjoy the rewards of having extra money to spend on things. We'll have that money saving tips handout. We'll have even more information on it as well. And we're right here at the end. This is great. So I do want to talk a few minutes about your EAP benefits. Your HR is going to know a whole lot more about this than I am, but I did want to give you some information on this. So there's your EAP access number. You get 1 to 6 sessions, and that's your employer ID that you use to utilize this. But what's so cool about it, which I know I'm biased, I'm a therapist, but this is not just because you have something super terrible happening in your life. If you're just kind of struggling or you're not quite sure about this decision you have to make, these are all good reasons to utilize your EAP. Don't wait until it's a major crisis. I mean, use that in a crisis if you need to, but don't wait if you don't have to. That's 1 to 6 sessions usually per um, issue even, and it's a household benefit. People in your family can utilize this as well. They're available 24/7, all kinds of telephonic support. I mean, they can help you with resources in your area, elder care, child care, all of this stuff. Some financial resources and whatnot too if you're struggling in some areas. I, as a therapist, I cannot recommend EAPs enough. I know they get kind of a bad rap sometimes because people think that their bosses and their employers get all the information, but they do not. We all have clinical licensure that we would not give up for somebody that we've worked really hard for. So they don't turn that stuff over. And again, people can just get so much help for free, and before something becomes a problem. So please, 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 think through utilizing your EAP for all the things. Oh, somebody said buy bulk, split up, and vacuum seal meats. Yep, you can pre-season and have different styles and tastes. Yeah, I love that. So you're even thinking ahead for, yeah, making it tasty. So that's awesome. Love that. Thanks everybody for sharing as we went along. But that is your EAP benefit. We had references. This is a QR code for the evaluation. You should also get a link, I think, for it. If not, I'll make sure you guys get a link for that. But thanks again for your time today. I know it takes a lot to take an hour out of your day. I really appreciate you all being here. And if you have any remaining questions or thoughts, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. If not, have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa, so much. I mean, even I know when I had kids, like then I was like, how can I stretch this dollar more than more than I've done in the past? So these tips were resonated with me because I know that I've done some of them. And I appreciate everybody who is, responding in the chat. Definitely scan the QR code and take that evaluation. If you got the time, we'll also be sending in a link afterwards along with the handouts. If you have any questions for us, please reach out to us, wellness@strandedchicago.com. You can go ahead and ask for me. My name is Dakota. But once again, Melissa, thank you so much for your time today. Everybody, thank you so much for, taking the time out of your day to be with us. And to those of you viewing at home, hope you learned something extravagant from this as I know I have. So Melissa, thank you so much for your time today. And everyone, please have a wonderful rest of your day if there are no other questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Dakota. Do you need anything else from me?
Nope, we are all set. I appreciate it. You just
Perfect.
enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Take
Bye.
care.